Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about why I think the 2001 Nickelodeon show Taina got canceled. So Taina lasted for 2 seasons, and it's one of those shows that completely escaped my radar. I still to this day don't know how I missed this show. I had cable around that time. I was watching stuff on Disney Channel, but I don't think I was watching that much stuff on Nickelodeon. The only things on Nickelodeon I remember watching at that time were like cartoons in the afternoon. And so I just completely, I don't even know how Taina escaped my radar. Unless some people say it came on at night, so that could be it, because I was watching other stuff at night. But it's one of these things I now regret missing, but I'm trying to make up for it now. I haven't watched the entire thing. I still only watched the unaired pilot, the actual televised pilot, and some of the second episode. And so I plan on watching the rest because the only way you can watch it is on YouTube if you want to listen to the English dub. But it is on Pluto TV in case you want to rock it Spanish style. And so till this day, a lot of people been wondering why, it got canceled. But there's never been a definitive 100% answer as to why. There's been speculation. There has been speculation from the fandom. There's been speculation from the studio, which I don't 100% believe them. And then there's speculation from the lead actress herself. And so after doing some research and just trying to figure out I think it wasn't just one factor, but it was many factors. And so first is the fan theory. That I've seen some fans say that it had to do because it was a show based in New York, even though it was filmed in both Florida and California. But it was based and centered around New York. And of course, September 11 happened, and that changed America, even to the point where television shows and companies had to change things around to take the word New York or their product out. I remember back in college, I was in college when that happened, and I used to order the Pizza Hut Big New Yorker all the time, right? And so next thing I know, when I ordered a pizza after 9/11, the box changed, the logo changed. I think they took the word New York out, and they took a picture out of a building and stuff. It was basically just like a bare box that just said, Pizza Hut on there. And that's because of September, 11. Also, Power Rangers changed. During that time, Time Force was airing, and they had to edit a certain part out, I think, of the intro, because they had two twin buildings, but it was fictional buildings from Japan and stuff. They did take that out. And then something else. Monsters were no longer allowed to destroy and blow up buildings because of that. So some fans believe that a lot of shows were altered because of 9/11, and the show being based in New York. That could be a reason, but I haven't seen no actual person, like a celebrity from the show or anybody who worked behind the scenes or the studio themselves say anything about that. So it's a possibility, but it's one you can just put a pin in that I really don't 100% believe. But it could have been a factor, you know what I'm saying? Now, another factor is what the studio said, is that the show was too expensive and they didn't have a strong enough male audience and they didn't want a stronger female audience. Now this sounds crazy, but there is reason to believe this. See, Nickelodeon around that time has mostly been centered around boy type cartoons and shows and stuff like that. They've had a couple of girl shows, but they've had mostly male shows and stuff that skewed more male. I know that sounds crazy because just 5 years later, they started centering around female-led shows. iCarly, True Jackson, Victorious, which ripped off Taina, and Sam and Cat. After Sam and Cat, they went back to more of the family-oriented stuff and the male-driven stuff. They've never been keen on having a female target audience like Disney Channel. And so, so that could be a reason. Also, I say that because, in the unaired pilot, Taina originally had a little sister, but come the actual aired pilot in the show, they gave her a little brother to try to bring in more of a male audience and stuff. So I do believe that was a factor, but not the only factor. Now the whole being too expensive. They filmed in Florida on the studio in the first season, and they went to California in the second season. And that, of course, is to save money. However, they had to save money because they couldn't film in New York. It's too expensive because of all their guest stars. They had a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of famous musical people guest starring on their show. 3LW appeared in the second episode as the Blue Mascara Girls and stuff. And so with all these big name stars, and you know they not cheap. They are not cheap whatsoever. You know that costs a lot of stinking money. Plus the music and the music videos. Every once in a while, Taina will daydream of her making it big and have a music video. So she had to sing, they had to write the lyrics, they had to get the copyright to the lyrics, and they had to get a dance choreographer and everything. And that's a lot of stinking money. But the show had high ratings, so the more seasons they had, it would have brought in money, but they still would have been losing money. And so, of course, there is the third factor. Well, actually, the fourth now. So Christina Vidal said that back when she was doing the show around the second season, her former music manager got into an argument or a disagreement with the heads of the show and Nickelodeon and stuff. Because I don't know exactly what she was supposed to do. She was starting her music career. So, you have to record in the studio, you have to make music videos, probably do some touring, and that would have affected her being on the show. So I don't know what kind of argument happened, but it later on involved her mom, to where her mom had to stand up for her. So, of course, you know how those business people are. If you piss them off, then they don't want nothing to do with you and stuff. And I believe they held a grudge against her. So I believe back then they held a grudge and held that against her. And then the last reason is something the actress just recently said about 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was Entertainment Tonight or Entertainment Weekly or something like that. They interviewed her. And it's on YouTube and you can watch it for yourself. And they asked her about the Taina show. And she revealed something that many people did not know until about 3 or 4 years ago. Is that she said she has regrets about how she acted back when she was on Taina. And when you watch the video, you can see that remorse and that regret in her facial expressions. And it was really heartbreaking to see and hear because she wasn't pretending. This was a genuine facial expression. She had regrets because she was 18 at that time. She was young. She was a newly found adult out of high school, stuff like that, And she said her attitude was not the best at that time. She said sometimes she had a bit of an attitude with people. She said that sometimes she was late to showing up for work. She said she wishes she would have acted more professionally and stuff, and how she presented herself and how she spoke to people. She literally said that the people who worked on the show had to pull her aside and sit her down and give her the talk, saying that, we love the show and it has high ratings, but we don't know if it's gonna work out between us and you. And it's because of her attitude. And you know when somebody got to pull you aside and be all like, look, we love this show, but it ain't working out between us. You know that's gonna be a factor in like whether they decide to go on with a third season or not. And so I believe that, like I said before, it was a combination of these things. I believe it was a combination of like the show being too expensive, it like catering more to girls and not guys, the whole music thing being a factor of like, you know, her starting her music career, and that of like, you know, how she handled herself unprofessionally at times, not all the times, but like sometimes, you know, because they're kind of like, look, this is expensive, we got high ratings and stuff, but you know, there's some couple of things that are interfering in this, and we can just pass this up and go with somebody else. And that's what they did. They literally created that Masterpiece show and everything. And it's really sad, you know what I'm saying? Because this could have went on for multiple seasons, like iCarly, or like, you know, Victorious and stuff. Because I read in the comments, because she's a great singer, by the way, like a really good singer. And somebody said in the comments that if she would have had a better like music manager and had an actual music career, she could have destroyed J-Lo in like a heartbeat, like music wise and everything. Because we all now know that J-Lo is fake. Like she doesn't even sing most of her stuff, and it's always created, like it's always written by like other people. She was literally a plant to derail that of Mariah Carey's like career, because J-Lo's manager was, I think, the ex-husband or something like that of Mariah Carey, or the ex-music manager or something like that, and he hated Mariah Carey. So he wanted the next Mariah Carey and everything. And, you know, it's such a shame because she had the look, she had like the vocals and everything. She could have been really big, but she still is a star, and she still appeared in multiple stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that Brink movie, Freaky Friday, she's gonna be in the sequel and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.